We'll interrupt the regular program. Let's cross over to Paris now. As you heard earlier about another demonstration, again, continuing to protest against what has become now a law, increasing the retirement age by 2 years. Earlier, I talked to Ramin, and now you can see these live images. They're coming from Paris as some clashes have taken place and things were expected to perhaps get out of hand a bit. This, of course, after time and time again this year, there have been protests, but to no avail. And of course, Macron, French President Macron, signed into law, basically avoided the regular process and basically went around and enforced, one would say, his will and his perspective on the French people. And of course, the people are not happy about the increase in age for retirement from 62 to 64. And they are complaining. They are still out on the streets complaining about why they have to do that. Again, you're looking at these live images coming out of Paris today, where there were expectation, what Ramin said, expecting up to 1 million people to show up on the streets today. We're going to cross over to Ramin, who is there on the scene. Ramin, tell us what's going on. Bring us up to the latest.
Well, as you can see, and probably hear, it's a very, very well attended demonstration. Generally speaking, this is the 15th million person march in France this year. At first, it was to stop a implementation of a 2-year hike to the pension age, and then in March, when Macron forced it through by executive decree, it became the fight to force him to revoke it. So the pension age hike is already a law, but there is a precedent back in 2006 where union-led protests forced Jacques Chirac to withdraw a law that was already on the books. So many people have been hoping that it would follow that same course. But it really seems like today is the last day of the fight, that has been going on since the start of January. This has really been a sort of very wonderful distraction for the government in that there is a time of record inflation. France is basically in a recession by just, 1 or 2 percentage points. You have the European Union, which was supposed to be a force for peace. They have been ramping up their arms deliveries to Ukraine and avoiding peace discussions. So this has really been, this pension battle has really been sort of a very welcome distraction to the government. We should point out that, what's the reason? Why is this so necessary? They say it is to fill a $10 billion hole in a social program, which is incredibly popular, that spends about 350 billion euros every year. So we're talking about there's a very minor 3% gap, which could be easily, fixed with the stroke of a pen. The government could just fund the pensions better. But it's been forced through. That is the rationale for it. But it really just seemed like today is the final day. In fact, the head of the largest unions said today that, quote, even if we don't want it, the match, as he called it, is coming to an end. Another top union leader said essentially the same thing, that they're going to have to move on to other issues. And that's really something to keep in mind here, is that, low wages, inflation, as I mentioned, the war in Ukraine, there's really a lot of different things that are making the French people really quite angry. And that's really what they're talking about today, is the amount of anger that's in the street now that everybody seems to agree that unions are going to drop the fight, as they do in every summer and every Christmas. The only group that has ever continued to march during the summer is the Yellow Vests. So it's really sort of unfortunate, really, for many people here. But you see behind me, obviously, many people are very involved, and 70% of the country wants the pension law revoked.
Okay, I mean, we're looking at the footage. A little problem bit with the audio. Our apologies to our viewers, but he is out on the street there in Paris, and as you can see, and what he said, that lots of people are in attendance today. I think the main thing, what we've been talking about, is that they've been out there time and time again, but obviously the will of the people has not been respected in the country. Again, Ramin, I had talked to you earlier. I'll try to ask you a question. If we can hear you or not, we'll see. But basically, I mean, doesn't this weaken the confidence of the people in their government if basically these elected officials do whatever they want? At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what the people want.
Absolutely, and I think this is something that you and I, we have been forced to talk about for many years now. It's almost as if there's a sort of amnesia among the French people. This is not the first time that a very unpopular law has been forced onto the books and by executive decree. This is not the first time that the government has totally ignored popular opinion. The whole focus of the Yellow Vest movement was really to try, it was the anger that there wasn't popular opinion reflected in policy making. And, you know, it's not, and I don't think that we're being biased journalists if we say that this is a problem which is obviously endemic in liberal democracy as practiced, by the West. It's year after year after year. You and I, we have been covering here in France that every spring and usually every fall, there are these massive protests which are massively repressed with violence against far-right economic austerity measures, against policies that go against the overwhelming majority of the populace. And there is no government more capturing the essence of liberal democracy than the European Union. The European Union was shaped by the United States, and it was shaped after the fall of the Soviet Union, and it was made to incarnate all of the main ideas of liberal democracy. And we see that what this means in practice is obviously it's ruled by a very small elite. It's ruled.
Okay. Ramin, I'm going to have to, as I said earlier, unfortunately the quality of the audio is not good and seems to be deteriorating. Our apologies to our viewers. But again, viewers, if you're just tuning in, you're looking at these live images coming out of Paris. There's on another day that people are protesting en masse against, of course, the reforms in the retirement law that Macron basically force over in the country, changing the age from 62 to 64. And we will be crossing back over to Paris.